Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about that ForEach-Parallel parameter. If you're anything like me, you were watching the release of PowerShell version 7 coming out, and you saw this thing, the ForEach-Parallel parameter come out, and got really excited. Well, unfortunately, I don't work in PowerShell as much as I would like to anymore. So it's taking me this long to actually get into actually looking at that particular parameter. And as I was looking into the parameter and trying to figure out exactly how this thing really works and how I can utilize it in my tools and in my scripts, I actually learned that the parallel has actually been around since version 5. You could use it within a workflow script, not necessarily with the for each commandlet. And here's what I'm talking about. I actually went and found, when I was looking at the Microsoft documentation, I actually found this right here, the about for each. And as you scroll through here, you could start seeing that I am looking at the version 5 documentation, and it does show a parallel parameter here. And this is the way I always do my script, my for eaches, right? I always have my collection. I always process one item at a time. But as you start reading through here, it actually tells you that it is for a workflow. And I'm not too familiar with the workflow just yet. I have to do more research on it. But as I was looking at this code, it looks like it should work here if I were to just do this portion, but I've tested it out and it does not work. So the only thing I can figure is it has to be within the actual workflow itself for it to work. And here's another way you could use it. You could actually process two different commands at once, going through here. But as I looked through this, I was starting to get disappointed, thinking this is not what I was hoping for. So I went back to the drawing board and started searching for PowerShell 7 releases and what's new. And so I come across this one, what's new in PowerShell version 7. And as you can see, I'm on the documentation for 7.1, which is the current release, with 7.2 getting ready to be released. But right here was the statement that caught my eye: pipeline parallelization with the for each. So what that told me was, what's really new about it is you can do parallel across the pipeline, whereas what we looked at just a second ago was within a for each loop and within the workflow. But now we can take things from the left side of the pipeline, bring it across, and then process it in parallel, is the way I was understanding it. So as I scrolled through the documentation, I came across this example, which is what we're going to play with here. We're not going to use the security log in this example, just because I didn't run my PowerShell terminal as an admin, and I don't want to restart it. So what we're going to do, what I've got going on here in our lab, is I actually have a Linux machine that I'm SSH'd into. If I exit out of this, see, if I do uname, is it TAC A? Yeah, you can see I'm on a Linux, and it's actually a CentOS 8 box. And I've got my PowerShell version 7 here. As you can see, and I'm running the same version over on Linux. See, there you go. yeah, the Linux one is a little out of date, but I have a plan for that. There's another video on how to update it by the command line. I was going to do eventually. And I also have my PowerShell version 5 here. I don't know why, I just have it open. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our log names here. Oh, so before we move into that, some of the things that I had tried before I actually started reading the documentation, I started trying to do I took a variable, range numbers, right, and I made a range. So I made it 1 through 100. So now if I do see, I've got 100 numbers here. So then I took it and I went sent it across the pipeline, and I said for each object I'm gonna write host I am currently processing dollar of 100. And I was actually put all this in quotes. Alright, so just so you guys can see what I did is I took my range and I put it in a for each, and basically I outputted what number I was on when I was processing, and as you can see, it processed it sequentially, you know, 1 through 100. So the next thing I wanted to try was, okay, so now I have this. Let's do the tech parallel. All right. Well, it processed it, and it did not process it in order. That's one thing I did read about the parallel, is since it's not waiting on a response to come back, some responses are going to come back faster than others. So it processed 3, or at least it received that number first for whatever reason, and then 4, 2, 1, 5, 6, 5, 7, and then it looks like it started catching up and going sequentially. But now what I wanted to do is, okay, now let's take that and let's see how fast it processes it. So in order to do that, we're going to use our measure command. And it says it took 785 milliseconds. Okay. So let's take off the parallel and see what happens. Says 79 milliseconds. Well, that's kind of odd. Not sure what's going on here, but it seems to process, this particular situation seems to process faster than using the parallel. Not exactly sure what's going on there. But the next thing I tried, because I actually ran into errors when using a parameter or using a variable. So what I did, instead of using the range command or a variable, I just went ahead and put my range in there. So let's do 100. Right? So we get the same results. And that was with parallel. Non-parallel will work as well. So let's skip that. Let's go ahead and just measure it to see if it's any faster. (641 milliseconds). So it is a little faster not using the variable. And 74 milliseconds. Again, for some reason it's faster than using the parallel command. Where I did see this make a difference as I was sitting and thinking about this, so this is all doing processing in memory of the computer. It's really not expecting anything back. So what I started thinking about doing was, what if so that's whenever I started doing the research and everything, and I come across the example on the Microsoft Docs. So let's take a look at that one right quick. So we're going to build a variable. I don't know what's going on here. Alright, so we're going to build a variable of log names with the application system and all those. So now we've got log names. Alright, so there they are. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to use it to we're going to see all the various logs that are in there. Let's not do the parallel first, and let's get when event. Now, when I was going through the demo, here I'll just go ahead and show it. There is a max events number that goes next. I was curious on why we had to have it until I ran it without it. As you can see, it's going through all those logs and getting all the logs out of there. And as you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but there are some red lines going up where it does have some issues. That's going to play a role here in a minute or so, but it shouldn't take too much longer. If you got your coffee, go ahead and drink it. And it's still going. It's got to be coming close to the end. Those dates look pretty close to today. There we go. Okay, so we didn't get the error, but as you can see, it went through all the logs. So now, if we do if we measure this command, let's do that. So those are the errors we were getting a minute ago. And then toward the end, we'll get an error of max events, and I'll show you how to avoid that. There it is. Max number of replacements have been reached. Anyway, that took 25 seconds. So let's go ahead and add those max events of 10,000. Now we shouldn't see that those last two errors. And there we go. It took 11 seconds for that command to run. And if we and let's see how long so if we put the measure on the other side, or I wonder if it'll work here. No. So it took 11 seconds to process 35,000 logs, essentially. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and add that parallel in there. And here we go. Oh, put the measure on the wrong side. Here we go. Wrong measure. There we go. So now it only took 4 seconds. So as you can see, when there's actually other processing that needs to be done, the parallel command does actually work, and it is, in certain situations, it will be faster. And here's another example, one that I was playing with, because I'm kind of into running PowerShell on Linux. The next example I was going to show is actually running a, for a lack of a better term, it's a ping sweep using PowerShell, using the test connection commandlet. This way we could actually see how it performs on Windows and how it performs on Linux. So I'm going to try and run them simultaneously to kind of save a little bit of time, because it does take several minutes for the non-parallel ping sweep to run. So what we're going to do is, over here on Windows, the first thing we're going to do is we need to create a list of IP addresses. So the first thing I'm going to do is create me a variable called, hang on, let me yeah, I already have one created, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove it, but I'm gonna create a new one. So let's see, I did, oh yeah, My IP range is going to start at 100 and it's going to go to 200. And then for each object, my IP address is going to be 10.5.1 $_ right. So I'm going to take that and then I'm going to send it to a text file. And I need to append it because I don't want my IP address to keep rewriting over itself. And I'm going to just call it iplist.txt. So now if I get content, I have about 100 IP addresses here that we're going to go through. So I'm going to take the same thing, I'm just going to copy it from here, take it over to our Linux machine, and create the same thing, and then let's get content. There we go. So next thing we want to do is we need to build our ping sweeper, essentially. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my content, and I'm going to get it from my IP list, and then for each object I'm going to test my connection, and my target name is whatever's coming across the pipeline, and I only want to do one ping, so I'm going to only send one packet, and it's going to come back with quite a bit of information. So I also want to only select the destination and the status, because I want to know if it's up or down. So this one here is not using the parallel, so it's going to take a while. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and run it just so I could. No, let's measure this one. Let's measure this one right quick. Because I believe it's going to take roughly 7 minutes to run. So what we'll do is, while this one is running, right, so it's running, we'll come over here to Linux. Let's go ahead and just copy this command, because this is going to be the exact same command. Yeah, we want to paste anyway. But I'm just going to run it so you can actually see the output, so you can see that the IP addresses. Oh, let's do this one as parallel. This way you can actually see that the IP addresses are not sequential. Oh, closing bracket. No. Oh, I have an opening bracket that I don't need. And then test connection. believe that's what I want. Need a tack count. And as you can see, I started with 101, 104, 103, 7. There's my 100. So it looks like that one timed out. I have success there. I think these times out are not connected. So I have things on these IP addresses. Again, not sequential, right? So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and let's stop this. And let's just go ahead and measure this command to see how long it actually takes for this to run. And that one should only take about a minute or so to run. So let's come over here. We have this one running. This one's still running. So we'll just sit here and patiently wait. Maybe I can speed this part of the video up whenever I go to post-processing. If you have coffee, go ahead and drink it. And I know some of you are thinking, it's like, why did he use test connection when ping and ICMP is so much quicker? You're probably right, but I'm just trying to keep within the PowerShell environment. My thought process is the more exposed to the actual commandlets you get, the more comfortable you're going to become. And you can always go in and substitute actual built-in commands later, but I want you to learn the commandlets and actual true PowerShell. Because yeah, if I was doing an event where I had to do a ping sweep like this, I wouldn't probably not be using test connection, unless I needed some sort of object to come back and maybe do some logical decisions after depending on the status. But even then, I could probably parse the ICMP echo and do logic based off of the bit. Okay, so our parallel came back. It came back in 1 minute and 31 seconds. So I'm going to do that again, except this time let's go ahead and take out the parallel. Before we do that, let's do this. Take out the parallel. Just so I can show you that the IP addresses are going to be sequential. Maybe. If it ever kicks off. There we go. Yeah. As you can see, they are sequential. 100, 101, 102, 103. So it appears that PowerShell is waiting for a response to come back before it sends out the next one. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And we're going to measure. And let's go ahead, hit enter, and this is going to take a minute. Let's see if okay, so Windows is done. So Windows took 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Alright, and that was no parallel. So let's see how long Windows will take with parallel. Alright, so while we're waiting on this, so when I was doing the testing and trying to get my thoughts together for this particular video, I actually used my whole range of IPs, which was about 1,000 IPs that I use, and it was taking roughly 20 minutes to go through the whole 1,000 IPs. So I had to slim it down, either that or I was going to be fast forwarding a lot through the video, which I don't think does anybody any good. Because when you start, yeah, I just don't think it does any good. Let's check on still waiting. All right. Maybe this would have been a good video to do with a live audience. All right, so Parallel is back. It only took 1 minute 6 seconds, so that's pretty good. And that was to go over roughly 100 IPs. And over here on Parallel or non-Parallel, we're still waiting. So that is pretty much all I had on Parallel. There are situations, so to recap, Parallel parameter has actually been around since PowerShell 5, but only within a workflow. There are situations even in the PowerShell version 7 where using Parallel will not help. Depending on what you're doing, Parallel could actually slow you down. But I would think for most cases, especially in the few examples that we saw here, Parallel does speed things up tremendously. So recommendation to use it whenever you can to help speed up your little scripts there. So until next time, we'll see you later. Again, don't forget, if you have any questions or you want to have anything in particular you want to see, go ahead and post it in the comments below. I do read those, and I do take those notes, add them to a list of videos that I have planned to do. If you have any questions, make a comment down below. I'll try and get back to you. I've done pretty good so far at answering all my comments. And if you enjoy watching these videos and you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click on the little bell to make sure you get notified of any time I post a new video. Trying to get into the habit of making this a routine, so make sure you're notified of my next one. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.